Good afternoon. In this video we're going to learn how to open and close the 3-jaw chuck on our robot. So the first thing we need to do is locate where the tool is. So we're going to hit the plus next to the robot controllers, next to the robot controller number 1. And then we're going to go to the actual robot itself, R2000 IC for this one. And then we're going to go down to tooling. And then we will see our 3-jawed gripper. So let's hit the plus next to that, and you'll see that there are 3 jaws inside there. We need to animate all 3 so that they open and close with the same speed and also time. So let's double click one of the jaws, and we'll rotate this around so we can actually see what we're doing. And if we go to the general, this is where everything is set up. So if you want to modify where it is actually located, this is where you would change it in the general. We are going to go to motion, and we're going to switch this to device in and out control, and it's going to be a linear motion. And the speed, we're going to go with pneumatics, so it's going to be pretty fast. We're going to go 1000 millimeters per second for our speed, and then we're going to use our controller to open and close it. So we're going to go controller 1, and the digital output, since this is the first thing we're doing inside the cell, we're going to use digital 1 for this particular item. And when it's on or off, it's going to be at a certain location. So let's figure out what that location is. So I'm going to go in here and I'm going to test. Right now 0 is this way, so let's go say -20 and see where that's at. So when we test this, it moves inwards, so negative will be moving inwards. We need to go outwards a little bit so that it looks like it's fully open. About 25 actually looks pretty good. Probably go down maybe to 22 millimeters. Let's try 20. There we go. So 20 seems to be almost perfect on the outside. So let's now go what we want on the inside, and that's all dependent on what we're actually going to put inside of our gripper. So if it's a 20 millimeter diameter part that we're picking up, then we need to go in that amount. So we don't know what this amount is yet. So we will wait on this and we will change this later on. Now, because we want these 3 to move in simultaneously, we're going to put one output for this one. And we are going to use digital input 1 and digital input number 2 for this. And the location is going to be 20 millimeters and then whatever this amount is going to be. So we hit apply. And now we're at that location. So if we go to 0, that's going into that part right there. Now we only have to do the output in one specific area. So we only have to do it on one of these because they're all moving in at the same speed and at the same position. We only need to use one output. Otherwise it gives us an error. So we're going to hit OK on this, and we're going to do this for every single part now. So I'm going to move around, double click the jaw, and do the exact same thing. Device, linear, and we're going to do speed of 1000, and we're going to have our robot controlling, and we're going to utilize the same exact outputs as our other jaw. Just make sure each of the numbers match, and we do not have to put an output. And then let's go to the last jaw. Linear, 1000. And then let's put in our output device as our robot controller. And same I/O tag of 1. And then off, 20 millimeters. So again, we do not have to put the outputs. So let's try to do an animation of this and see what happens. Let's go up to Teach, Add Simulation Program, and we're going to call this Jaw Open and Close. And then we're going to go Instruction, we're going to go Digital 1, and we're going to have it on. And then we're going to wait until Digital 1 is on. And then we're going to do a 2-second wait between, and then we're going to go Digital 1 off, and then we're going to go wait until digital 2 is on. Now where these numbers are coming from, let's go back to that jaw number 1, is right here. Our digital 1 is 20, which means it's fully open and it's waiting until it gets to that position. As soon as it receives a signal that it's at 20, digital 1 turns on, which means that it is waiting until that turns on. We're waiting 2 seconds in between so we can see it open and then close. Then we are going to turn digital 1 off, which brings it inwards to that 0 position, and we are waiting until digital input number 2 is on, which is at 0. So let's try this out. Let's hit run. So you can see it's open and then closed. And we can loop this. So I'll do a jump label, and up here we're going to add label 1, and we're going to move it all the way up to the top. And let's run this, and you should see it open and close. And let's do a little wait in between so we can see it open and close. So it opens for 2 seconds and then closes for 2 seconds. So let's move that up and run. So there we go. So now we are opening and closing, and because all the speeds are at exactly the same, now we have this motion, opening and closing. And that 0 is where you change how or what diameter your part is going to be. So if your diameter is going to be 60, that number will change. So you don't know until you actually have a part inside there and then figure out how close do you need to actually get the gripper. So I just went under cell and made a new part, and I made it a cylinder with 100 millimeters as the diameter and 150 millimeters as the length. Let's add a part to our gripper. So let's double click the actual tool itself, and let's go to parts, part, apply, and then here's our part. So let's turn off the 180 degrees. Let's go 90, see what happens. And you'll notice that the Y is upside down. So let's go negative 90. Now the Y is the correct direction. So the big thing is you have to match the direction you're going to pick up. So in this case, the Y is facing upwards, and then we can change the Z offset wherever the gripper needs to be. So if you need to grip right there, you can do so. So this is probably a little bit bigger than it should be for our object. So let's double click that and change the diameter to say 75. There we go. So we changed it to 75 so that we can actually have some room to grip. Hit OK. Now what we need to do is change the gripper diameter, or that gripper length, how far it goes in. So let's go to the jaw number 1. And you see that it kind of changes color so you know which one's actually being picked. And then let's go in here and say we are going to move to position 15. And we can test it, and then all you're doing is just kind of dialing things back. So let's test 10, and that looks like it's going a little too far in, so let's go 12, and that looks like it's actually grabbing pretty well. So we want to have a little bit of overlap, so we need to now go in there and change everything to 12. So we need to wait until this location becomes 12. There we go. So once it's at 12, then it sends a signal out. Now we need to do that for each one of these. So this is going to be 12, and then this is going to be 12. And then we're going to run the program. And you can see it opens and closes. Now the part won't stay in there because it disappears until you actually pick it up. But that's how we animate a jaw. And the best thing to do now is to create 2 different programs, one for opening, one for closing. So you can call upon it in your main program. So let's just create that really quick. So let's go to Teach, Add Simulation Program. So we're going to call this Jaw Open. And we're going to add our opening. So we're going to go digital 1 on. And then we are going to wait until digital input 1 is on. So as soon as it gets to that 40 position, and then it'll move on to there. So again, these numbers come from right here. So if we go here, oh, sorry, as soon as it gets to the 20 position. So as soon as it gets to the 20 position, digital 1 turns on, so that it exits this loop. So that's opening our jaw. Close that out, and then I'm going to go teach, add simulation program, and then I'm going to go jaw close. And then in our jaw close, we're going to digital 1 to be off, and then we're going to wait until digital input number 2 happens. As soon as digital input number 2 turns on, then it runs through. So now all you do is you call these two programs jaw open, jaw close, so that you're able to simulate your program.